Hello everybody. Welcome to the Wilderness Verde River trip between Childs and the Horseshoe Dam. I hope you enjoy this and come along with me and just enjoy these sights, these different things that I experience along the way. They're for you, for my family, and for everybody that's excited about taking this Verde River wilderness trip. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You'll never forget it, although I've taken it 5 times solo, and this is my 4th and 5th solo expedition. So you'll enjoy these rapids. Beautiful, awesome rapids along the way. Strongly suggest you learn how to read the river. There's boulders underneath here. You do not want to flip during these times, but you do want to enjoy it just like I did the whole way. These rapids come quite often, but they are awesome. Of course, it's giving you a good perspective of the handling skills going through the rapids. To me, this is as fun as riding a bull at a rodeo. And obviously, as you see, you can count on getting wet when you go through them. But then when you're finished, you come to some of the most beautiful and amazing spots that Arizona has to offer. Some of these rapids that you go through are 200 yards long. And some can be pretty treacherous. Some have major turns that you have to maneuver into and around and through. But every single one is different, and every single one is joyful, and just you exert a great amount of energy. And it gets your heart pumping, no doubt about it. And then you come across these spots that are calm and silent, and you take a 360, and the views that you are surrounded by are some of the most beautiful views you could ever lay an eye on. They're just gorgeous, gorgeous views. Gives you a chance to paddle through these calm areas and enjoy the wildlife, the ducks, the different types of aquatic animal life that surround you, and as well as the trees and things like that. Of course, the gorgeous reflections are plentiful in these silent pools. But up ahead, you can always count on a rapids that you can hear from a long distance away. And you just contemplate. By the sound of the rapids, you can pretty well understand the difficulty that may be coming ahead. And then every now and then you take a 360, and again, you're just surrounded by some of the most beautiful things that you can imagine. One of my campsites. This is the first campsite I came across after I left Childs. And then every now and then you just want to take a stop and eat and grab a drink, and again just enjoy maybe a little walk get your legs rested and move forward. As I said, it's very important that you learn how to read the river, because in the Verde River, at about between 250 and 500 cubic feet per second of water flow, there's a lot of rocks and rubble that will be in front of you or beside you or in your path, and you have to be able to maneuver around that in time to avoid it. So reading the river, reading the current is extremely important. Now, I've gone down this river 5 times solo. This is my 4th and 5th trip. Pictures from my 4th and 5th trip. So reading the river is important, and going alone is not something for everyone. But if you're not interested in going alone, then I would suggest that going with people would be a great way of enjoying this. But you can see the ducks up ahead, and they fly downriver and they meet you again somewhere downriver. Some rapids can be difficult. Everyone is fun in its own way, but some can be treacherous, and especially when they turn into little tributaries that you have to maybe do some portaging around or stop and figure out exactly what route you want to take before you get into the rapids itself. That's very important, especially on a solo trip. In some cases, like this one, you'll come across the river monitor system that monitors the speed of the river and the depth of the river and the different things that the Forest Service puts out about the river. The scenery, as you can see, is second to none. This is pretty deep into the wilderness area. You have to understand that you will have no cell phone service, you'll have no communication to the outside world, and there is very few trails that go into this wilderness area. So if anything happens, the only way out is by helicopter, and no one wants that to happen. So you want to be very careful when you take this trip and plan well. But for those adventurous types, this is happening every day. It takes about 5 days to get through, 4 nights of camping, but you're getting through some of the most beautiful river in the world, is my opinion. The things you see, the variety of plants and wildlife is just huge. And some of these cliffs that you come into that tower high above you, right next to the water, you can just reach out and touch them, and it's a very spiritual place to me to experience. There's quite a few cliff-dwelling birds that make their nests high in these cliffs, and as you're traveling along them, they fly out and kind of greet you, and You can enjoy every second of that experience. And then you'll see otter and muskrat. And of course the tracks along the banks of the river. You can see plenty of raccoon tracks and ringtail and different types of animals that love the water system. Such a versatile amount of flora and fauna along this river. You can see the saguaro cactuses and the different type of cactus plants, and both edible and medicinal type plants, different types of trees, your typical cottonwoods. And as you're traveling along, you'll also see debris that sometimes gets caught 15 feet in the air. During the monsoons of Arizona, when it comes through, they can, when the water level rises, it'll leave different types of debris that high, 15 feet high. You can just imagine what it would be like when you're going by these to see this water level 15 feet higher than what it is now. In my opinion, it certainly wouldn't be a time to be on the river. To anyone who loves the peacefulness and the serenity and the beauty of Arizona, you just cannot experience a more beautiful setting than to ride the Verde River for 42 miles through this type of terrain. It is definitely some of the most gorgeous and beautiful scenery that you could imagine. To know that you're in some of the deepest wilderness of Arizona. Some of these places are untouched. There's Indian caves that are up in the mountainsides. Me, I love to explore. You can explore these things during camp. You know, venturing off and exploring. I've run into one particular area, which I won't mention. There was a cave, and inside the cave there was some broken pottery, which I took pictures of and left it all behind. You will also come across a hot springs area that comes out of the hill. In one particular place, there's several spots like that, but in one particular place the hot springs comes right out of the side of the hill in the form of a little stream. I camped there one night and bathed there, and it was very warm, very soothing. But out of all 5 trips I've taken, every single one has shown me different things, different experience, different scenery. You might even say that each time I've seen something brand new, but yet I've experienced the same thing over and over as well, but it never gets old. The time of year that you go, from the water levels, everything creates a different experience. But it's all a deep, deep wilderness experience that you can just feel. It's very spiritual. And these deep, slow pools give you a chance to really take it all in, but then you come across these rapids right afterwards that get your heart pumping and get you moving down the river, and it's just gorgeous. It's a great feeling. In some cases, the water's traveling so fast that even the fastest man on earth could never run alongside the bank and keep up with you. In many places like this, the water goes through a narrow channel, which obviously creates these rapids. And then you come across spots like this where tributaries come in from the right or left side. They come into the main branch of the river again, creating a fantastic sight. But as I said, in the distance, you can always hear the roaring of the next rapids. From 100 yards or more away, you can just hear this heavy, roaring water that gets your mind going again as to what you're going to be coming up against. So now we're getting a chance to turn the camera around and get a whole different perspective of what it's like to go through the current and the water. And as I go through this, I talk and try to explain as to what I'm seeing and how things are going, what I'm experiencing. So I'm going to dub over these areas and explain to you in detail as to what I'm experiencing through this means. So as you can see, the river's narrow at this point, and on both sides there's a lot of vegetation. On one side you have the typical Arizona trees, and then on the other side you have an invasive species of a plant that's similar to bamboo. And that's kind of like going through a car wash when you go through that in narrow areas. It hits you and slaps up against you, and it also provides you with some hitchhikers, as in the form of spiders that want to attach to you or to your craft, and they go along for a ride until either they go off you or you take them off you. So here I'm going through a narrow area. Might only be 8 feet wide at the most, that has these invasive species. And somewhere along the way here, if you look at my hat up on the top, you'll find a black dot. That black dot is a spider that I picked up at the car wash, the last one I went through. In fact, you can see him right now up there, that black dot at the top of my hat. That's the spider. In these slow areas, as I go through, I can't help but just look at the landscape that's surrounding me on the riverbanks and the different plants. Everything that I see is just amazing to me. You see the saguaro cactus on the hill up there. And soon I'll be doing a 360, and it'll be at that time that I'll notice that spider on the top of my hat. But before that happens, again I go through a rapids, and I can't stress the fact of how important it is to be able to maneuver and read the river. Sometimes it requires a little bit of strength to get through and to make the maneuvers, because they can be quite fast. But all very exciting, super exciting. There's that spider again. And sometimes you'll come across spots you need to portage around because the water is just too shallow. Too many boulders. Can't stress enough how important it is to balance out your canoe, or your kayak in this case, and tie everything in real good so you don't lose it. In my 5 adventures down the Verde, I've flipped 4 times total, and I've never lost anything due to the fact that I've tied it in extremely well. But it's in spots like these that you have to get in the water and let your kayak go downstream and portage around what it is that you're trying to avoid, or that you can't ride through, and you have to get to a point where you can get back into saddle and ride again. And off you go, down the river again to enjoy this fantastic ride. Sometimes the river will come to a 90-degree turn, and the river will hit the side of the mountain or the side of the cliff, and then you have to maneuver to get through that. Sometimes that can be a little difficult. It takes a little strength, but it's easy to manage if you know what you're doing. But in all cases, when you get the opportunity in the slow water to just relax and search over the sights, it's just a fantastic, beautiful place. There's always a mountain somewhere that's towering high, me, I search for the caves, I search for the different things that you can see and take in everything. Every now and then a drink of water is highly necessary. You do work quite hard sometimes to get through the currents and the rapids.